There were orders from Himmler that he wanted drastically to reduce the number of Jews. And so in Riga, of course, there was the notorious Rumbla massacre, the 2 massacres. And in the middle of December, it was the turn of Liepaja. They had killed little less than half of the Jews by November. And then they rounded up another 2,700 or so in December and shot them also. And that left about 1,000. And after some further killings, there were 800 left that went in the ghetto. And this time in December, it was also my turn.
Edward Anders was caught on Skede Beach the day the Jews of Liepaja were liquidated. Thanks to the courage of Latvian friends and that of his mother, who bribed a Nazi officer to give him a false certificate of Aryan descent, he escaped death.
They had 3 executions, squads, 1 German and 2 Latvian. One of the Latvians was the Latvian SD unit. The other one were just ordinary police that had been ordered to escort the Jews to this place, Stede. But then when they arrived there, their lieutenant told them, "You'll have to shoot." So they had rifles, and they counted out groups of 10 Jews, and there were 20 marksmen. Each of them had to, each of the victims got 2 bullets. And then came the next group. It was all quite efficiently organized. And there exist a dozen pictures of those executions, which a German SS man had photographed, and a Jew working in security police as an electrician had noticed that roll of film in this SS man's room when he was supposed to do some electrical work there. And so he quickly arranged to have the film copied and then put it back. And then he hid these pictures. And after the war, when Liepaja was occupied by the Red Army, he immediately contacted the Russian counterintelligence, Smersh, told them, "We have pictures showing executions." And they were flown to Moscow the next day, and they were used in war crimes trials. The first picture shows a number of Latvian policemen. The one on the left wears a fur hat. It's a cold day, and unfortunately most of the Jewish victims had to undress before being shot. So the policemen at least were comfortable. He is guarding a number of Jewish women. They're all wearing yellow stars on their chest and their backs. And you can see that they are sitting there quietly. None of them are tearing their hair out or crying or anything. They're very stoic. And on the far right, there's a German military car sitting in the background here. So it's clear that the Germans were involved. They supervised the whole operation. The rule seems to have been that young women had to undress completely. Older women and children and old men could keep at least their underwear on. The outer clothes were, of course, taken for reuse by other people. And here is a scene where a number of Jewish girls, with one exception, they're all stark naked. They're running past a gantlet of Latvian policemen. There were some executions in the countryside where some orgies took place and girls were raped and so on, but nothing of this sort seems to have happened this time. But as far as I know, they really wanted only to look at these naked girls. There's a group of 3 on the left. The one in the middle that's being held by her neighbors, we can see that her head is quite low. She seems to be close to fainting. The others are holding her, probably to prevent her from falling over. Here we see the Epstein family. The Emma Epstein is on the far left. She's bent down. She seems to be dressed in white, but you can see her head and her arm. And next to her is her 18-year-old daughter, Mia, who already had been forced to undress completely and is trying to cover herself as much as possible. And her younger brother is undressing himself, standing in front of her. And in the background, one sees a number of Latvian policemen, quite a few of them. I think this Epstein family is a particularly sad example of what happened to the local Jews. The husband of Emma Epstein, Chaim Epstein, was a banker who was arrested by the Russians in early 1941. He was in some gulag camp, and he died about 4 or 5 months after his family did. Of course, he didn't know that they were all dead. This picture shows a group, including several children, with a sea in the background. There's a boy in a dark shirt leading the group. He's looking to the right, and he's grimacing. He seems to be upset by what he's seeing. Right behind him is a little girl who's not going forward. She's turned around and holding on to her mother, who's apparently trying to calm her down. Behind them is a young boy who's not looking to the right. And finally, the next one is a woman who's also not looking to the right, and she has a little baby on her shoulder. The baby is putting its head on the mother's shoulder, not a care in the world, doesn't know it's going to be killed in the next couple of minutes or so. What they were seeing is shown in the next picture. There were 10 women lined up on the far side of the ditch and ready to be shot by the execution squad standing on the other side of the ditch, which was about 8 meters wide. The third woman from the left seems to be quite upset, and she's leaning against the woman next to her, knowing that the last seconds of her life have come. They're all facing the sea, which of course all of them loved. This was one of the nice things about Liepāja, the beach, and in a way it may have been reassuring to them. The last sight they got of this earth was the sea. So that was the picture that the young boy in the dark shirt saw. These women standing at the ditch ready to be shot. And in the next picture, the turn of the boy in the dark shirt and the rest of the group. Now they're standing lined up there. There are quite a few bodies that had fallen into the ditch. The ditch was about 3 meters deep, so there were quite a few layers of bodies. And in the far right, one can see there is a man with some object which turns out to be a rifle. He is pushing the bodies lying on the edge of the ditch down into the ditch. And the little girl that we saw before that was facing her mother, she's again standing next to the mother. The rule of these executions was that when children were old enough to stand, they were treated like adults. Each of them got 2 bullets. But if a child couldn't stand, if it was too small, then the mother was supposed to hold it up high, and 1 bullet went to the child, 1 to the mother. This picture was taken probably a few seconds after the previous one. The Jews have now been shot. The boy in the dark shirt is lying on the ledge and is about to be pushed down into the ditch. One can also see there is a small flag between the policemen and the bodies. They generally move this flag to tell the victims where they were supposed to stand. It was all well thought out and organized.
In December 41, after 6 months of massacre, the Baltic Jews were wiped out. In a series of reports tinged with macabre sarcasm, Karl Jaeger, the Nazi officer in charge of Einsatzkommando 3, informed his superiors that the Baltic lands were now judenfrei, free of Jews.